Alright, welcome to another edition of Google is Evil and such and so forth and whatnot. Yeah, marketing company, blah blah blah, up to no good, conform, lowest common denominator, it's just about selling product to dumb people, blah 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 blah. Yeah, and that's not the American way. But anyway, today's video, just pretty much an average video, talk about evolution and sort of the psychology of the philosophy in the end. Like, all of it gets, people are kind of psychological about their philosophy, and they think they're deep, and you can always go deeper. And my argument would be is that if you really take this all to its end product, intelligence would be almost humiliated having a silly conversation about any need for any of this crap to go on. This stupid chasing of silly narratives, little fables you make up about how you're heroically, stoically, pushing through your whatever, your life, to whatever, pull the curtain back and find out that the Wizard of Oz isn't, really a wizard. Well, who cares anyway? It's not, every heroic battle is to, achieve some victory that won't really, have any victory in it, and that kind of thing. So I guess I won't bother playing any clips out of it. Hell with that. Keep things brief. I did notice in the comments section, some people asked for me to opine on the current events of the Ukrainian-Russia thing, and I don't have a stake one way or the other, right? I would just logically say I think the Ukraine is much better off as part of Russia. I don't think any country is better off being split in pieces, because then the pieces just end up having conflicting interests and they just start parasiting on each other. They start dumping their pollution across the border and doing all kinds of other stuff, and if they get really hostile, it gets really messy and both countries lose. I mean, it just turns out that they both lose, because the competition with each other doesn't create anything. It's almost like our political system has sort of been ruined by the individual states given more incentives to compete with each other for federal dollars, and it just leads to a bunch of bullshit where they start busing their homeless to other state borders and doing other kind of bullshit, and it's all going to have to be, it has to be paid for in the end. So it's all quite inefficient for the states to fight with each other. And so I'd say if I was a Russian, if I was a Ukrainian, I think I would realize that, I don't really have a country, it's really, and, my whole historical identity is sort of tied to Russia. And why do I want to become a weak Poland? I mean, that's all the Ukraine is becoming. It's a weak Poland. It doesn't, why do I want to become more irrelevant than the Polish people? So I would argue that if I was an Ukrainian, I'd probably say, please, Russia, rescue us, make us into something great again, something meaningful. Give people a reason to know what our capital city is and what we are and who we are and what we are and all that crap. Not to be, don't just put us on the ash heap of irrelevant. So I think I would be. I can only say I think. So otherwise, same old, same old. I mean, would we want Russia interfering if we decided, if there was some point where we figure out that most Cubans don't want to be in Cuba, they don't want to be a separate country anymore, would we go rescue the Cubans that do? And would we give a shit if the rest of the world didn't like it? So it all depends on how you're looking at this. Now, I'm sure from the Russians' point of view, they're looking at the long term. They don't care if this costs them some trouble in a couple of years, so what? Because they're saying 20 years from now, Russia will be much stronger. So that's how they're looking at it, I suppose. It sort of makes sense. I mean, they why have unnecessarily harsh borders? Between your own country. The whole buffer Balkan state thing didn't really ever work for the Russians. They have the 50-50 people on your border. You just kind of want to have borders that are either us and them. And there's no point in having us and, well, they're half thems. You know, they're not quite us's and they're not quite thems. You know, but whatever. So but yeah, what do you want me to say? I just think the coverage of it, of course, is just so, you know, people think that soldiers being obligated to go into a country to, you know, whether you want to call it doing their police stating thing or, you know, taking over. Of course, if a bunch of rebels are going to start throwing shit at them and shooting at them, yeah, they're going to shoot back. Duh. So, you know, that's war. I mean, if you know, frankly, you kind of know what you're in for. If you're going to get into a war, then yeah, it's, you know, it's a war. You know, you're going to, oh, I'm going to have a war with Russia. Yeah, well, it's not going to be much fun, I don't think. So, you know, but I mean, I feel bad. I wouldn't want my house blown up. I wouldn't want, you know, it's terrible shit that happens. But it's also, like I said, it's part of the building of nations and all that kind of crap. And so it doesn't mean much for me to say, well, in the long run, they're probably better off. Yeah. So who cares what I think? You know, think whatever you want to think. I don't know. You know, I don't know what to tell you to think. I think that it can be understood that there's probably good reasons, but, you know, maybe all the reasons that the people are acting, maybe all those reasons suck. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. That's all I'm saying. But who knows? Anyway, so yeah, you know, politics just isn't very interesting in my opinion. I mean, it's just gotten too right left. You know, it's just reasonable, sensible perspectives. Forget it. Everything has to be shoved into the pigeonhole, and that's it. You know, you're either a racist or you're some sort of, you know, homogenizer who thinks it's all works just fine. You know, no, it doesn't. And like there's absolutely nothing you can identify or blame on cultures or anything else. They all have to be immune from any kind of finger pointing, which is just a pile of shit. So anyway, but yeah, so this is the most politics I've spoken in a number of months, and I'm not really liking it, so yeah, the hell with it. Yeah, until things, you know, get more rational, there's no point, because you just get labeled, and fuck it. Yeah, the hell with it. And frankly, I mean, both sides are just so bad. There's just no way to. It's like there's no point in attacking the right if they're going to be replaced with lefties that are just as bad. I mean, let's set all the criminals free. I mean, what the fuck is going on? I don't, you know, I can't for the life of me understand what democratic principle includes the, well, let's give them 500 strikes. You know, let them beat the shit out of people, you know, ruin people's lives, disable them, do all kinds of horrible things, and so what? You know, they have some psychological problems, so yeah, it's no big deal. It's just insane. But anyway, yeah. Well, whatever. Yeah, so there's just no point, because there's no rational side. So, like I said, there's no point in attacking the right, because I'm saying, well, what am I going to replace it with? One of these loony lefties? Fuck that. So until we get a third party, you know, that, like the rational party, something, you know, that isn't fucking insane, there's really nothing to advocate for. And such, and so forth and whatnot. So, blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah. Blah. So anyway, I think that's, yeah, just keep it short. And such. That's enough. A lot of crazy fucks. They're all over the place. I mean, on the internet. Yeah, the internet's like just, it's almost like you don't want to be on the internet just because, you know, or on the YouTube or whatever, the social media, because it's just, you know, the percentage of loonies it's getting so high that it's like, well, yeah, you're basically pigeonholing yourself by being part of it. Ugh. Anyway, so till the next time. Yeah, I think that's enough. I'm going to say it's enough. So anyway, this has been, draft physics. Whoops. Yeah, no, it hasn't been draft physics. Sorry. It's been a do not guide video presentation. Yeah. And such, and so forth and whatnot. Yes, I have so much to do, and I'll get to it. I'm working on it. I have, yes. Just working on it.